Welcome back, everybody, to the Deep Dive. Today, we've got, I think, a pretty interesting one. We're diving into Pedro's story about an antique clock and a hidden family treasure.
Sounds intriguing.
Yeah, should be pretty fun. So, we'll be talking about intuition and legacy and really, all the mysteries surrounding time itself.
Oh, well, in Pedro's story, I think what really stood out to me at first was the idea that sometimes the most ordinary objects can, hold so much meaning. This clock, it seems like just a simple timepiece, but it ends up kind of leading him on this journey of discovery. And it ultimately reveals, a hidden truth about his family's history.
Yeah. And it's really almost like the clock is a character in the story, right? Like it starts acting strangely and stops every night at 3 a.m. And even, after he gets it repaired, it keeps doing it. So I'm kind of curious about why that specific hour, is that just a random detail that the author put in, or could it be like a deliberate way to draw attention to something?
That's a great question, and it's something that has, been a source of fascination for a long time. The hour of 3 a.m. is often associated with the supernatural. Some people call it the witching hour, It's that time when the veil between worlds is supposed to be at its thinnest.
Oh,
And a lot of cultures see it as the time when spirits are most active and you can, maybe even communicate with the other side.
wow. Okay, so that adds like a whole other layer to the story then.
It definitely does.
Okay, cool. So then we have Pedro's dream. And he sees this angel, and the angel gives him a message about the clock. So, was that just a random coincidence? Or could it be something more, like maybe a real message urging him to look into his family history?
Dreams are so interesting. They've fascinated, psychologists, philosophers, you name it, for centuries. And there's different schools of thought. Some believe that dreams are just, our minds processing emotions and experiences from the day. But others think they're a gateway to something more, like the subconscious or even, a higher realm. So it really makes you wonder if Pedro's dream could have been tapping into something, beyond his conscious awareness.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes you think about how powerful intuition can be. And what's so interesting is that he actually listens to his dream, right? He starts digging into his family's past. And that's when he finds this letter from his great-grandfather, which, mentions this hidden treasure and hints at a connection to the clock.
Right. And the whole idea of hiding treasure, especially during times of war or upheaval, is just fascinating. It's something that people have done for centuries.
Yeah.
It's like this instinct to protect what's precious to you and pass down clues to future generations. It speaks to this, desire to create a legacy and to make sure that something of value lives on.
Yeah, it's like a real-life treasure hunt,
Uh-huh.
right? And, of course, the letter has to include the classic cryptic clue, time will reveal everything. You can practically feel the anticipation building, right?
Oh, yeah.
As Pedro gets ready to search for this treasure.
And cryptic clues and riddles, those were often used to protect secrets, to make sure that only the right people, the worthy people, could find the truth. It was like a test of their knowledge, their ingenuity, maybe even their character.
Yeah. So Pedro, he doesn't find the treasure right away, which must have been pretty discouraging, right? But he keeps going, driven by this curiosity and this, I guess, gut feeling that he's on the right track. And so he decides to just sit and watch the clock, closely as it gets closer to that 3 a.m. hour. And then something really strange happens. He starts hearing this rhythmic pulsing sound coming from the wall where the clock's hanging.
That's where things start to get really interesting. We go from the dreams and the intuition to a real tangible clue, like that pulsing sound. It suggests that there's something hidden behind the clock, a secret just waiting to be discovered.
Yeah. And so, driven by this new clue, Pedro takes the clock off the wall, and he finds this hidden cavity. And inside, he finds an ancient wooden box. What's inside that box? We'll have to find out after a quick word from our sponsors. Okay, so we left off with Pedro finding this ancient wooden box tucked away behind his antique clock. It's like, something straight out of a movie.
Right. It's like now we're getting to the real treasure hunt part of the story. It goes from those dreams and the, intuition to actual physical evidence.
Yeah. And this is something you see a lot in these kinds of stories, right? Where there's this hidden knowledge or this lost, legacy. There's always some object that acts as the key to unlocking the truth.
Exactly.
So what's in the box? I'm dying to know.
Well, he opens it up and he finds a detailed map of the family property. And there's this gold medallion in there too. And it has his family crest on it. It's
Yeah.
like suddenly all the pieces are coming together, the clock, the dream, now this hidden treasure, it's all connected.
Yeah, like it was all meant to be. So the map, it leads him to a specific place on the property, right?
Yeah, it points to this massive old tree, one of those trees that's probably been there for like generations, just silently guarding the secret buried underneath it.
Wow,
It's a good reminder that sometimes the most valuable things are like right in front of us. We just don't know how to see them.
that's true. So Pedro, he goes to the tree, right? With the map and the medallion. Can you imagine what that must have felt like?
Yeah.
Like he's practically stepping back in time, connecting with his, ancestors in such a real way.
Absolutely. And that sense of connection to the past is so powerful. It makes you think about how much we all long to understand our roots, to feel like we belong and to see how our lives fit into this bigger story that spans, across generations.
Yeah, no, I get that. So he gets to the tree.
hmm
What? He finds the treasure buried there.
He finds an iron chest buried right there under the tree. Yeah. It's like the culmination of all his efforts. He stuck with it, followed the clues, and it paid off. Like in those classic adventure stories. Good triumphs over evil, destiny fulfilled.
So what's in the chest? Is it just like gold and jewels? Or is there more to it?
Well, there are gold coins and, some ancient jewelry in there, which of course represents that material wealth that was hidden away during uncertain times.
Right.
But the really cool part is he finds all these documents in there too, detailing his family history and like telling the story of the treasure. And that's what makes it so much more than just about money. It's this connection to the past, a legacy that's been preserved.
Like a window into their lives, their struggles, their hopes for the future. It reminds us that we're all part of this bigger story that unfolds, over generations.
Absolutely. And his ancestors, the fact that they went through all that trouble to hide it and wanted a worthy descendant to find it one day, it says a lot about what they valued. It shows their faith in future generations. It's this beautiful testament to the, enduring power of family and like the importance of keeping history alive.
That's like they were sending a message across time, trusting him with
Yeah.
this piece of their past. And you know what's amazing? After he finds the treasure, the clock never stops at 3 a.m. again.
Really?
Yeah, like its job was done.
Wow. That's like another layer to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a guardian of the secret, this timekeeper with a very specific task to keep that treasure hidden until the right moment. And once its duty was fulfilled, it could just rest.
It makes you think about all the connections between things that seem random, the power of intuition,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe even forces at play that we don't really truly understand.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely makes you think about fate, those synchronicities, the interconnectedness of everything. It's like, could some objects or events in our lives be acting as these guides pointing us toward a bigger purpose or like a hidden truth?
I like that. And it's great that Pedro decided to use the treasure to restore his family home and do good in the community. It shows this real respect for his ancestors and a desire to honor their legacy.
Right. It's a great example of someone not just taking the treasure for themselves, but using it to benefit others.
Yeah.
Connecting the past and the present. Like a reminder that true wealth isn't just about money. It's about the impact we make on the world.
It makes me think about the clocks in my own life.
Hmm.
What am I missing? What things are trying to tell me something? It's a great reminder to pay attention to those little whispers of intuition. The synchronicities, the objects that might hold a special meaning for us.
And what's so interesting in this story is that it was a broken clock, a disruption in the normal order of things that got Pedro's attention. It makes you wonder, could it be that the things that break the pattern, the unexpected events, are the ones that hold the most potential to reveal something new to us? Have you ever heard of the liminal space?
I've heard the term. I'm not sure I totally get it, though.
Okay, well, a liminal space, it's like a transitional zone, a threshold between one state and another, a place of uncertainty where things are ambiguous, full of potential. Think of it like a doorway, a passageway to something new and unknown. Like in Pedro's story, with the clock, the dreams, the clues, it's like each of those was a liminal space, disruptions that forced him out of his comfort zone and made him face the unknown.
Yeah, okay. I see that. It's like those moments in life where you kind of feel lost, but you're also excited about the possibilities, right?
Exactly. It's all about embracing that uncertainty and being open to changing and growing, because liminal spaces, they can be uncomfortable. We don't like not being in control, but those moments, that's where we can grow the most. That's where we can really discover who we are.
So it's like instead of fighting those moments where things are changing, we should just, lean into them and see what happens.
Right. Liminal spaces, they're invitations to question everything we think we know, to let go of the old ways and, embrace the unknown. It's like a chance to shed our old selves and become someone new, someone who's more authentic and in tune with like their true purpose.
Wow. That's a really cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
Because you're saying, like, Pedro's experience, the whole thing with the clock and the treasure, was itself a kind of liminal space.
Yeah, I think you could see it that way. His whole journey, right, from the clock breaking to finding the treasure and then understanding what it all means. It's like he went through this transformation. He let go of old beliefs and came to this new understanding of like himself, his family, his place in the world.
And that's what liminal spaces can do, right? Help us change our story.
Exactly. They help us redefine who we are and what we can do.
This has been, I don't know, really eye-opening. I'm definitely going to be looking at things differently now, paying more attention to the, little things, those unexpected events. Maybe they're trying to show me something.
And remember, the key is to stay curious and open and just be willing to, embrace the unknown. You never know what treasures you might find. They might not always be, literal treasures, but they'll definitely make your life richer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this with us. I feel like I've learned so much about time and, legacy and the power of intuition.
You're welcome. It's been great talking about this with you.
And to everyone listening, thank you for sharing Pedro's story with us. It's a good reminder that even in a world that can feel so, predictable, there's always room for mystery and wonder and the chance to find hidden treasures, both out in the world and, within ourselves.
Well said.
So that wraps up this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and, don't ignore those whispers of intuition. They might just lead you to something amazing. Welcome back to the deep dive. So before the break, we were in the middle of talking about these liminal spaces, right?
Right.
And how they might show up in our own lives, just like they did with Pedro and his, treasure hunt.
Right. Those kind of transitional times, those in-between moments when we're, maybe on the edge of something new, but not sure what it is yet. And those moments can be so important for growth and, discovering things about ourselves.
Yeah. Okay, so how can we actually, recognize when we're in one of these liminal spaces? What should we be looking for?
Well, it's not always like super obvious because liminal spaces can be kind of subtle. It might be a feeling, like you're a little disoriented or like sensing that things are shifting. You might feel drawn to new things like experiences or ideas, maybe meeting new people. Or, like what happened to Pedro. You might run into some unexpected problems or like challenges, things that make you step outside of your comfort zone.
It's like when you feel a little lost, but also kind of excited, like there's so much potential.
Exactly. And that's the key, right? Embracing that uncertainty and being open to, the possibility that you could transform. Because, yeah, liminal spaces can be tough. They make us feel out of control. But it's in those moments that we can grow the most, like really discover who we are.
So instead of trying to, fight those moments where things are changing, we should just go with it.
Yeah. See what happens. Because those liminal spaces, they're like invitations to question everything. All those assumptions we have, the old ways of doing things, let go of that and embrace the unknown. It's a chance to shed those old parts of ourselves and, emerge as someone new, someone who's more authentic and in tune with their, true purpose.
That's a pretty amazing way to think about it. So you're saying, maybe Pedro's whole experience with the clock and the treasure, that was a liminal space in itself.
I think you could definitely see it that way. His whole journey, from that broken clock to finding the treasure and then, figuring out what it all meant for him. It was like this process of transformation. He let go of those old beliefs and came to this new understanding of himself, his family, his whole place in the world.
And that's what liminal spaces can do. They help us change our story, rewrite it.
Yeah, exactly. Redefine who we are and what we're capable of.
I gotta say, this whole conversation has really got me thinking. I'm definitely going to be looking at things a little differently from now on, paying more attention to those little shifts and, unexpected things that happen. Maybe they're trying to, point me in the right direction.
And don't forget, the most important thing is to be curious, be open, and, just be willing to jump into the unknown. You never know what you might find. It might not be treasure, the kind you can hold in your hand, but it'll definitely make your life richer.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for, taking the time to share all of this with us today. It's been really insightful. I feel like I've learned a lot.
You're very welcome. It's been great talking with you.
And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Pedro's story. It's a great reminder that even in a world that can feel, sometimes a little predictable, there's always a chance for something amazing to happen. And, we can all discover hidden treasures, both out in the world and within ourselves.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So that's it for this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and most importantly, listen to your intuition. You never know where it might lead you.